In the current eon of our planet, there have been 37 epochs that define the last 538 million years. The current epoch is called Holocene and began about 11,700 years ago at the end of the last ice age. Some people go so far as to refer to the epoch we live in as the Anthropocene, implying the impact of us humans on our world has far greater consequences on our planet's future and rivals the very forces of nature itself. Our desire to explore what is around us and comprehend why we are here leads us to believe we have firm control of our destiny, along with the means to get there. There is an old saying often attributed to Benjamin Franklin, which says, "Nothing is certain except death and taxes." While the latter can be minimized or eliminated through legal or illegal means, the former is inevitable for all of us. As it were, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Walking along South El Camino Real in North County, we come across a place that shows us the finite reality of our lives through the unbound imagination of art. The Institute of Contemporary Art North, along with the central location in Balboa Park, presents art and learning with a mission to question everything. They offer classes in ceramics and art, and have installations which stimulate our curiosity to better understand our world and our existence. There is a sculpture trail that winds around 6 acres of the land surrounding the Institute of Contemporary Art. The oldest piece on the trail is one of the larger ones, called Mother Maple. It was created by heat-treating and hammering aluminum sheets to conform to a real maple tree in the forest. The artist Robert Loeb describes his sculpture style as a tactile revelation derived from the fabric of the woods. He enjoys the unbalanced physical demands of being in nature when creating a piece, and understands the meditation and solitude needed to make art. A colorful well, constructed from old clothing and resin, sits on the hill just above the artist's pavilion. The rocks signify the reliance we have on our planet to provide for us. What have we given it in return? Pollution from burned fossil fuels, widespread deforestation and displacement of animals, and global warming that only accelerates each year. When we look into the well, the water at the bottom almost seems to reveal a portal to another world. Maybe one in which we have yet to exist. The age of Earth is estimated at 4.54 billion years old. Modern Homo sapiens have existed on the planet for about 300,000 years. In Mother Nature's view, a mere blink of an eye in comparison to the Earth's existence. The world's population is currently 8 billion people. In these past 300,000 years, how many of us have ever existed? Some calculations put that number at 117 billion. This means approximately 109 billion of us have already lived, died, and returned to the Earth. The well is an appropriate analogy to how we depend on the planet for life, and how our lives may be reflected upon after we're gone. Across this high ground at the back of the property is another piece fittingly named the Summit. It shows the burned husk of a small wooden structure with steps and 2 pails for carrying water. The interior has charcoal and wildflower seeds that sprout, wither, and grow anew according to the season and rainfall. What is this artwork referencing? 2 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Executive Order 9066 was signed in February 1942, forcing the majority of Japanese Americans in the western United States to be relocated to 10 camps spread across California, Arizona, Arkansas, and several other states in the West. They were required to sell off property and belongings, often at a loss, and for only a fraction of their value, due to the timeline which restricted them anywhere from 2 weeks down to 2 days before relocation. They were only allowed to bring what they could carry. 120,000 Japanese Americans were interned at the war relocation centers. 2/3 of those detained were citizens of the United States. The camps were located in desolate, isolated areas with extreme fluctuations in temperature. The tar paper barracks were not insulated, making living conditions unbearable. They were divided into sections only large enough to house a family of 3 or 4. There were communal bathrooms, mess halls, and laundry rooms with little privacy. Some people did work in the camps for minimal pay, tending to the farmland, constructing buildings, or teaching the children. The food was not exactly what Japanese Americans were accustomed to eating, and the only medical care available was provided by other prisoners who were general practitioners at best. Guard towers and barbed wire fences deterred people from escaping the camps, and guards were instructed to shoot anyone attempting to escape. Most people would spend 3 years in the camps until the final internees were released in 1946. Freedom meant being given $25 in resettlement money and a train or bus ticket back to where they were taken from. Many didn't have anything to return to and struggled to rebuild their lives. Many decades later, the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 issued a formal presidential apology for the incarceration of each Japanese American during World War II and issued a $20,000 grant for every surviving U.S. citizen or legal immigrant of Japanese origin that was detained in the camps. The burned perimeter of this structure represents the incarceration of Japanese Americans from World War II, in particular those from the Gila River Relocation Center, where the artist's grandparents were. The pails of water carried up to the summit stand for the water tower his grandfather oversaw at the camp, as well as the struggle of all who had their freedom taken away from them over 80 years ago. There are 2 birdhouses at the Institute of Contemporary Art. This one is at the top of the hill near the Artist Pavilion. It's made of broken and recycled ceramics, like the plate on the side, or the dog and chicken looking out over the top. It shows the wear of a quarter century in the elements, and unfortunately, some parts have been broken off over the years. A dog points across the property, with an even larger green lizard slithering up the side next to a slice of lemon. The image of a homestead from a fragmented plate duplicates the actual outdoors surrounding this birdhouse. The other is located down the trail, back toward the entrance. This one, with its swans and flamingo on the exterior, shows these ceramic birdhouses are works of art. As works of art, they can be appreciated against the backdrop of nature along the path. Of course, the best material for real birdhouses is wood, which insulates against the cold and can be constructed to allow for air circulation during the summer. Birdhouses are to birds as homes are to humans. When we think of a home, it almost always involves four walls and a roof of some sort. A shelter to keep us warm, dry, and out of the wind and rain. In the center of the circular road next to the artist pavilion is an art piece titled Home. The chairs and furniture are all literally made out of brick and mortar, a term we often use today for businesses to indicate a physical existence rather than a strictly online presence. A place to call home is what everyone wants, although in our modern times, it's puzzling how we as a society still wrestle with the fact that basic needs of food and shelter are not met for everyone. San Diego is currently among the most expensive areas to live in, and in October 2023, it was ranked the #1 most expensive place to live in America. Cost of living increases, inflation, and the highest state taxes make it a hefty price to pay for the mild climate and mostly sunny weather enjoyed almost year-round by its residents. There are growing numbers of people without housing in major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Seattle. In terms of population, San Diego is 4th on that list. Some solutions to help people affected by homelessness include providing permanent housing without preconditions, ensuring physical and mental health care as well as substance abuse treatment is accessible by all, and having a support network to provide counsel, case management, and help finding work. It's one thing to list these solutions and totally another to implement them. There are organizations in San Diego that do their best to provide food, shelter, and clothes to people in need. There is no question on their dedication and commitment to helping others. The question is, what does it take to successfully bring each individual back into life with dignity, respect, and acceptance? As we are all human beings, born of the same earth, and will most likely return to it after our time here is done. To the side of the pathway is an instrument called marimba. It echoes a real bridge that used to connect San Diego and Tijuana starting in the early 1920s. The marimba bridge spanned across the Tijuana River and was given its name because of the wooden planks that would sound out as early model cars drove their tires across the surface. According to the map provided by the Institute of Contemporary Art, if the pathway represents the river, then the marimba should be on both sides. However, there is no evidence of a marimba on the other side, just scrub and brush. Maybe the lack of it symbolizes something, or was simply removed from the path. Either way, the sound of the marimba can be heard when played with a tree branch. There is a triangular plot of land with Anna apple trees evenly spaced throughout. Each has a dedication plaque, and they are collectively called the Garden of Apple Delights, referencing the early 16th century triptych, The Garden of Earthly Delights, by Hieronymus Bosch. In our modern world, where just about everyone has access to capturing pictures and video, have you ever thought it's strange that the remnants or memories of our existence are often summarized in words? We see it in tombstones, books, documents, plaques, inscriptions, monuments, and memorials. Having something physically written in stone seems to grant permanence to an event, person, or place that has existed in the past. Artists achieve this flow or sense of hyperaction and awareness during the process of creation. The intense focus on the objective and the challenging yet attainable target blurs their sense of self, with prime motivation to accomplish the goal set before them. Time stretches or compresses to the will of the artist producing the artwork. whichever is more beneficial to the task at hand. All of us are accustomed to consuming food, material objects, media, and services. Ask yourself, when was the last time you created something purely for its intrinsic value, then brought it to life for others to experience, see, hear, and enjoy? It's not that easy, and requires commitment, determination, and focus to drive a vision to completion. Countless hours are poured into planning an entire project, revising what may or may not fit, toiling away at the creative process, pulling the strings to adjust finer details to mesh with the aim of the original intent. This is what it means to be an artist. No pursuit of fame, fortune, or recognition. Just an outlet of expression to bring forth an idea that disappears as fast as a fleeting memory when arising from a fantasy bound halfway between the intersection of truth and our perception of a dream half dreamt. In many ways, creating videos like this one involves spinning threads of the same yarn. The Artist Pavilion used to house artists that would stay in residency from several weeks to several months. The transient nature of those visits mirrors the relation of our own lives with the earth itself. Whether intentional or not, what is built and produced by our society eventually becomes a record of who we were and what we accomplished as a species. Let's walk inside to see what legacy we would leave for extraterrestrial beings discovering our culture centuries from now. The showroom is Spartan and has a low rumbling sound that differs quite a bit from the calls of nature outside. Toilets. Toilet paper. The buttons for a dual flush. Faucets that supply water and the handles to open doors. Of all the scientific discoveries, advancement in medicine and healthcare, engineering feats that take us to the moon and back, our human race may be defined by sanitation and plumbing. If we somehow disappear off the face of the earth, this showroom displays an artist's interpretation of what a galactic traveler may find on our planet. In some ways, the items here could be regarded as art, like this bathroom fixture purchased by Marcel Duchamp in 1917, over a century ago, and entered into an art exhibition as Fountain. The choice of toilets as art hints at the downward spiral our society may be headed, flushing the achievements of our civilization down a drain of oblivion. A selection of apocalypses could end our future, some caused by us and others brought by nature. Climate. The warming of our planet is caused by human activities and is on track to increase the global temperature by 8 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of this century. Ecosystems like ocean coral reefs and glacial ice melting will also affect animals living in those environments. We see these changes happening even today. War. If there ever was a way to change war, it must be done, or we may be on our way to becoming extinct. In the final third of 2024, there are currently 2 major wars being fought. One caused by a leader who wants to prove he is right and leave what he thinks is a legacy at whatever the cost. The other, a continuation of a vicious cycle where civilian lives are lost, with one side striking, causing the other side to retaliate. These battles over land or ideology exact an expensive toll that ends up being paid by innocents caught up in the conflict. At worst, the threat or very real possibility of atomic or nuclear war will definitely drag us to the depths of despair, as we unfortunately have already experienced at the end of World War II. AI. Artificial intelligence is rapidly becoming commonplace in our daily lives. From searching the internet and unlocking phones with facial recognition, to virtual assistants and autonomous cars that honk at each other for us. Robots programmed with AI are intended to perform dangerous, mundane, or repetitive tasks. However, there are concerns that they'll take over the world, and where would that leave us humans as far as existence and purpose? Asteroid. The end of the world could arrive as fire from the heavens as it did during the age of the dinosaurs. The asteroid that impacted at the site of the Chicxulub crater off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula was 6 miles across and caused devastation on Earth 66 million years ago. If certain gravitational conditions are met, another asteroid called Bennu may impact Earth in 2182. Tsunamis could be triggered by such an asteroid impact, bringing a deluge of water to submerge coastal cities like San Diego. Wildfires may run rampant, blazing a trail of destruction in their wake. The energy from 24 of the most powerful nuclear weapons would blast dust skyward, enveloping the atmosphere and blocking out the sun. Of course, this is only calculated speculation, but unlike other doomsday scenarios, there is one that will definitely occur. Granted, it's 1.3 billion years in the future, but in the normal course of our sun's life, its luminosity will increase by 10 or 20%. This will cause the surface temperature of Earth to reach 212 degrees Fahrenheit, boiling away our oceans, leaving our planet as a dry husk, floating lifelessly among the stars. After another 4 billion years, the Sun will begin to lose fuel to burn, starting its phase of becoming a red giant where the core becomes more dense and the surface expands further and further, engulfing Mercury, Venus, and eventually the Earth. Contemplation of events so far in the future become a futile exercise, which mainly serves to induce headaches at best. Something more tangible is the question, what happens if our civilization ends? This is addressed by a final installation which fittingly is called Beyond the End of the World. It's a 2-screen exhibit showing a door opening and a dog wandering through an abandoned building. The overflow of sludge and waste collects unhindered. Without us, where is the story? Things exist, but only that. Objects created by humanity, but no humanity to be found. The dog realizes its surroundings. But does it analyze what happened to all of us? perhaps not. The dog or any other animals will wander through our structures and architecture. Unaware, they will never be created again on this earth. After we're gone, what will remain? Just as it was before we became. Nothing at all. When shown the perspective of how the world will end, however far off it may be, we know we must make the most of the time we are here. As brief as our existence is in relation to the earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, we cannot afford to waste the gift of life each of us has been granted. Live your life to the fullest and follow your dreams. Remain true to your aspirations. We've only one life to live, so live it with purpose. Accomplish everything your heart desires, and remember to make the journey better for you and all other souls traveling through space on our home world of planet Earth. If you enjoyed this video and all the original music, support this channel for free. Click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching San Diego Review.